Yesterday was DC FanDome and we got a ton of panels, announcements, and trailers. So today I'm going to stop and rank all 5 movie trailers and teases that we got from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Sean and I love to talk about movies way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of the DC FanDome trailers that you saw. If you want to throw in some of the TV ones or video game ones, go ahead and do that. I just stuck to the movies. If you don't know, I put out 3 different trailer reactions yesterday, but I didn't get to talk about the Black Adam teaser footage that we got or the behind the scenes stuff we got for the Suicide Squad. So I wanted to do this video to talk about all of them, as well as kind of rank them on how well I think they did at building my excitement for each of these projects. And let's get started. Coming in last place is Wonder Woman 1984. I was actually really excited to see another trailer for this movie because I had a lot of fun with the first one. It was very energetic, vibrant, a change of pace from the previous film, but you could see how it could be an extension of that film. It didn't feel like a betrayal or mockery of it. And with this trailer, very clearly, they were trying to do a counterbalance to the synth pop theme of that one, joke-heavy, bright colors. And so this one had a much more epic orchestral score to it. It doubled down on kind of establishing the plot of the film and the themes about something is going on that's enabling people to have their wildest dreams come true, as you see that presented in Cheetah apparently wanting to gain powers and Wonder Woman wanting her lost love back. But, you know, I watched this trailer and it just didn't actually build my excitement. It made me a little bit more worried about the film. And I've always been as soon as we learned Chris Pine was coming back, I was like, whatever they're going to do that, they're going to have to really convince me. And the trailers thus far, we're not quite getting there. I'm not feeling it quite yet. And some of the shots of Cheetah didn't fully convince me. And I watched the first trailer and I thought there was a bunch of really cool action shots in it. And I don't feel like I got more of those here, as if all the best stuff was in the first trailer and they don't have much more to show me after that. The humor still landed for me, but at the same time it felt like, okay, we brought Chris Pine back to be fish out of water in the 80s, being like, look, I got a fanny pack. Hey, look, parachute pants. Look, trash cans are art. And so just almost, even though I was laughing at it, it still made me a little bit worried. And so the goal of a trailer is to build your anticipation and your excitement. This trailer made me a little bit more nervous about the plot and general vibe of it, so it was my least favorite of the bunch. In 4th place is Justice League, the Snyder Cut. Now, I enjoyed this trailer. It actually did build my anticipation for it. It delivered what I was hoping for, but at the same time, it did not exceed any expectations that I had for it. I think the problem with trying to promote the Snyder Cut is that we already received multiple trailers for the Snyder Cut before Joss Whedon took over, before it stopped being the Snyder Cut and became the WB Whedon Cut. They put out a Comic-Con trailer and a trailer after that back in 2017. And so we'd already seen stuff from it that was his stuff. We had a lot of footage that wasn't in the movie they released. It was in these trailers. That's how all the excitement and build-up for the Snyder Cut movement came from, is because we'd already seen a lot of this stuff. And so naturally, when they put out a trailer that's just kind of showing more of these images, and it's longer takes of glimpses that we saw before, and kind of fleshed some things out, but I already knew that's what it was going to be. So while I dug it, I didn't kind of have my mind blown by it. And it wasn't dialogue based really. And so it's just images, and we'd seen the shorter versions before. So, you know, my favorite moment in all of it was the last little clip where they gave us a little bit more of that Zack Snyder, Chris Terrio dialogue that we saw in Batman v Superman, where you have the Flash nervous about going like, these guys have been at war with all these people. And then Batfleck, real Batfleck, not Whedon Batfleck, where he got neutered in the movie that we did see. The real one that I thought was pretty awesome in Batman v Superman. You know, he steps up to the plate.
I don't care how many demons he's fought and how many hells. He's never fought us. Not us united.
That's the Batman that I dug in Batman v Superman. Where was that guy in Justice League? Oh, Snyder did have that guy in his movie. We just didn't get to see his movie. So that was my favorite moment, but we only got that one little clip of dialogue in there. And so for the most part, it was like, yeah, cool. It's coming. It's really happening. That's cool. but it didn't exceed my expectations beyond that. And I gotta say this, the use of Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen, that's actually the original version of it, is this version, seemed in general like a weird pick that doesn't naturally fit the tone of the film. More importantly, if you're familiar with Zack Snyder's filmography, he's used this song before. And when your brain opens the files Zack Snyder and Hallelujah, the images that come to mind based off of his previous usage probably aren't the images that you want to come to mind while you're watching this trailer, as they're a little bit different. In third place is Black Adam. I feel a little bit like this is the panel from Comic-Con that got overlooked the most, that actually had some stuff to deliver, some real information about the project and teases, but I didn't see much of any discussion about it on Twitter, and I was on Twitter all day yesterday while watching the panels and following all the coverage, but they actually did drop 2 different little teases for this movie. They haven't started shooting yet, so it wasn't actually footage from the movie, but it was kind of like motion comics or like a cinematic from a video game establishing the origin of the Black Adam character in the first one, of his backstory. Where did he come from? Why does he have a chip on his shoulder? And what makes him an anti-hero? Like, he is not heroic at all, but he's not fully motivated by evil either. He's in that middle spot. And so it's The Rock narrating all of it, and with all of his swagger and cockiness is perfect. And then they had a second one where they introduced the Justice Society, which, assuming that all of these characters are going to be in the movie, and kind of working with him, kind of working against him, trying to put him in place. And even the way he framed it, as he doesn't need help dealing with bullies, and they think they need to help me. All of it just having you understand exactly what The Rock is going to do with this character and how it would be different, how it could fit in this universe, have heroics in it. But this is not Superman. This is not Shazam. This is his own type of character. And you can start to, that's been kind of one of my concerns of, like, how does The Rock fit into a comic book movie? Because his persona is so big. I'm always normally the person that wants non-A-listers to play these big iconic characters, because I don't want to see an A-list celebrity as a character. I just want to see the character himself. The Rock is about as big of a Hollywood A-list personality as you can get. And these little teasers gave me a little hint of how they were going to channel that persona, that cockiness, into a specific role where it could complement the character, help the film, as opposed to be a hindrance to it. So I actually really dug these 2 teasers, as this is a character that not a ton of the mainstream audience is as familiar with, and I think this will kind of give something for the comic book people, as well as help the general public know a little bit better who he is. Our runner-up is The Suicide Squad. They didn't put out a trailer for Suicide Squad, but they did give a 2-minute long behind-the-scenes look at the film, where they went to the actual set, showing these big, gigantic action set pieces that they were doing, the characters in costume, but not the actual film itself, the behind-the-scenes version of it, which I think for this particular project might have been the right way to go. A couple of different things about this one. The first Suicide Squad movie, obviously, was not particularly well received. It's widely regarded as the worst, or one of the worst movies in the DCEU. There was all kinds of trouble with the backstory, with the writing, the editing, that's been well documented. So most people had a pretty sour taste in their mouth after watching it. But it's also a movie that made a lot of money, so a sequel made sense. And most people, I felt like they saw the movie and they thought the script didn't work, the plot didn't work, but they kind of had fun with the characters themselves. And of all the people to bring in that could probably liven the project up and kind of reignite fan interest in it, James Gunn feels like a great person to bring in. As, you know, did he get popular in the mainstream was doing an ensemble film for the MCU, the Guardians of the Galaxy. But the other thing about James Gunn is the reason that he was fired from the MCU for a little while there was because of his very dark sense of humor. And dark sense of humor, that an ensemble comic book movie, that's what The Suicide Squad is. Fandom loves this guy, so bringing him in and not doing a trailer that could be, people could be like, oh, you know, is this just more of the same? But immediately highlights the fact Like, it's this guy right here. This guy did Guardians of the Galaxy. So they give us this behind-the-scenes footage, and I loved so much of what they were showing. I mean, it embraces the weird comic booky sides to it. People are saying that, oh yeah, I mean, people are blowing up left and right, heads, arms, limbs, and you just hear that and you go, that's right. That's what's supposed to happen in a Suicide Squad movie. And then I believe it's one of the producers says,
this is a gritty 1970s war movie combined with the brilliance of James Gunn's characters and comedy.
And I just hear that and I go, man, that's different. It's not what we saw before. It's this whole other thing that's probably going to feel like the Dirty Dozen, maybe a little bit of Inglourious Bastards, except all filtered through James Gunn, through the filter of DC. That all sounds cool to me. And then everything they were showing was practical stunt work, explosions, a person running through a field as stuff is blowing up around them. And you could see green screen where they were going to augment everything, but they were on actual sets, actual locations, not standing in just front of gigantic green screens. And I do thoroughly enjoy the MCU, obviously, but some of their stuff, they just go too green screen. And I think there is something that you get from the tangible nature of when someone's on a real location while stuff is happening all around them. And the DC's done a pretty good job, especially recently, of doing practical stunt work that looks really cool. This looks like it's going to be a continuation of that. So this behind the scenes stuff, I think, might have even been better than giving us an actual teaser trailer. But easily coming in first place was The Batman. And it's been almost 24 hours since I first saw that footage, and I'm still giddy about it. I mean, I didn't expect them to show it. I thought we were a little bit too early on, so they would give us some stills and give us some nice behind-the-scenes stuff. And then Matt Reeves on his panel, he was talking fast and actually like talking about meat. Like, I felt his panel had more actual meat and insight about this film and the Gotham PD TV show he's working on that's going to tie to the Batman than all of the rest of the movie panels combined. So he says all of this, and then they drop the trailer, and they've only shot 25% of the movie, but the trailer itself is such a great early tease for the movie that establishes how it's dark and gritty, but in a different way from Nolan and in a different way from Snyder. It establishes that how much it really is a detective story where there's a serial killer that, the Riddler, serial killer's taking people out, Batman's investigating it, and they're toying with him. But I mean, people are making comparisons to Seven and stuff like that. But then as you're going through it, you also see little shots of the action with Catwoman doing flippy kick stuff, fighting Batman, and it looks intense and cool. And then it cuts to a shot of Batman staring down a group of thugs like, who are you? And we see Battinson just beat the crap out of it, just viciously punch the guy really quick. The guy goes down, and then he punches him a couple more times. He goes, I am vengeance. And you're like, Edward Cullen's grown up. He's grown up a little bit. And anybody that was worried that this guy is going to be a sparkly vampire Batman, that is not what this is. Like, this sets the tone. I've said it repeatedly, but I've as soon as they announced Matt Reeves, I was like, that's awesome pick. Like, but if you took all the backstory of Batfleck was going to write and direct, which I was very excited about that because he's won Oscars for movies he's directed as well as movies he's written. Remove all that backstory, Matt Reeves would have been a top 3 pick for me at that point. I mean, this was right after right in the midst of his Apes trilogy that I loved. Tone-wise, everything would be perfect for it. They announced him. And then everything he said in the panel was what I wanted to hear about the complexity of the world that it's in, building out Gotham and being a detective story. And then you see the action, what we actually puts on screen, all super cool stuff. So I was already unbelievably pumped for this movie. And then just took it all to the next level. I am giddy as can be about this one. Even my wife, I was like, let's see what happens. I played it for her, and she's like, okay. And then she tweeted out afterwards, and she goes like, okay, Sean made me watch all these panels, all these DC movies, and I was not digging most of it, but I would gladly rewatch all of those weird panels again if it meant I got to see this Batman trailer for the second time. Watch it for the first time again. So even my wife was won over. It was a delight. I was not expecting it to see it, and I absolutely loved it. So it comes in at number 1. You can check out my trailer reactions right over there. If you want more of my DC content, check it out right down there. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.